May it please to the Honorable Court, my name is Yashoda Krishnan, appeal counsel for the Appellant Nexus AI Solutions, Sandiyan Berhad. The issue in the Honorable Court is whether the High Court erred in law by dismissing Appellant's counterclaim on the breach of confidence when the Respondent publicly disclosed the source code at a GitHub repository, which constitute breach under the Clause 4, breach of duty of equitable, duty of confidence, despite claiming intellectual rights under the Clause 7. The Appellant respectfully submits that the Respondent breached the non-disclosure agreement under the Clause 4. The Clause 4.1 expressly prohibits the business logic and also the proprietary algorithm. The Appellant respectfully relies on the Section 53 Specific Relief Act 1950 on the page of 37, which mentioned that the court can grant mandatory injunction to a party to do a certain act to prevent continuous breach of obligation. The Appellant also relies on the Section 55 of the Specific Relief Act 1950, page 39, where the court can refrain from doing a negative obligation by applying this section in this present case, where the conduct of public disclosure by a respondent is clearly constitute a breach, therefore, and this also consider a negative obligation under the Section 53 and Section 55, and therefore, by using a Section 55, the court can grant mandatory injunction to respondent to compel to remove the source code from a GitHub repository. Next, the Appellant respectfully submit that the Respondent breached under the duty of equitable confidence. The Respondent relies on the case of Saltman Engineering Co. Limited against Campbell Engineering Co. Limited in the year 1963, Volume 3 All England Report at the page 44, Paragraph 3, line 8 to 14 and Paragraph 5, line 12 to 14, where the court held that when there is a silence in the contract, the equity imposes obligation to protect the confidential information if it's used for the limited purposes. In this present case, the source code was solely communicated to the respondent only for the development of the algorithm. The defendant also knew, the respondent also knew that the source code is only contained a confidential information that contained business logic and proprietary algorithm. The respondent also, the Appellant also relies on the case of Seeger against Copydex Limited in the year 1967, Volume 1 Weekly Law Report at the page 44, Paragraph E and Paragraph F, line 1 to 5, which mention that the confidential information cannot be used as a springboard activity in order to detrimental the honor, and we cannot be used without consent. And in the present case, the respondent used the Appellant's source code towards the public portfolio, and this detrimental to the owner, which mentioned in the cross-examination that the source code could just download it from the GitHub repository. Next, the Appellant respectfully submit that the Clause 7 does not destroy confidentiality. Okay, the Appellant relies on the case of Cap Yoching against Binary Group Services Sandiyan Berhad on appeal, and in the year of 2024, Volume 4 Malaysian Law Journal at the page 44, page 76, paragraph 44, where it's mentioned that in the confidential information impose obligation, the equity arises under the common law and contract law. By applying this case, Clause 7 does not grant license for the Appellant to disclose the source code, because Clause 7 only mention about the retainment of the ownership. If Clause 7 give the ownership, give the public disclosure, then Clause 4.1 would be meaningless, and it defeat the public confidential agreement. And therefore, in conclusion, the High Court erred in law by failure to consider the breach of Respondent Act, breach of non-disclosure agreement under the Clause 4, and also breach of duty of equitable confidence, and wrongly interpreted Clause 7 as a public disclosure. In conclusion, the High Court prays to the Appellant prays to the Honorable Court to allow the appeal, set aside the decision made by a High Court, grant damages, and also grant mandatory injunction to compel the respondent to remove the source code from the GitHub repository. Much obliged, Yang Arif.